The city of Millfield was quiet on the night of May 13, 1995. It was the sort of quiet you could feel, almost holding its breath. That all changed when the police received a frantic call around midnight. Jane Harrison, a beloved schoolteacher, had been found dead in her small home on Sycamore Lane. Her body lay in the kitchen, surrounded by shattered glass and the signs of a struggle. Within hours, flashing lights cut through the darkness. Neighbors gathered in hushed groups, whispering in shock. Jane's gentle presence had touched many. Now her home was a crime scene, cordoned off by yellow tape. The police began their work, but the scene offered few immediate answers. Millfield felt the shock ripple through every street. Jane was known for her kindness and patience, someone who always had a smile for her students and neighbors. That such violence could visit her home was unthinkable. The city was left reeling, desperate for answers and justice. The investigation started that same night. Officers collected fingerprints, fibers, and took statements. But the answers would not come easily. The case was about to become one of Millfield's darkest mysteries. Jane Harrison lived a simple, gentle life. She taught second grade at Millfield Elementary, where her classroom was always filled with laughter and learning. Jane's students adored her, and parents trusted her completely. She volunteered at the local library and helped organize community picnics every summer. Friends described her as generous, quiet, and bright, someone who looked for the good in everyone. When news of her death spread, the city came together in mourning. Candlelight vigils lit up the school playground. Cards, flowers, and drawings from students piled up on the steps of her house. The grief was deep and personal. Jane wasn't just another resident. She was the heart of the neighborhood. The school held a memorial service. Teachers struggled through tears to share memories of Jane's kindness. Parents hugged their children a little tighter, shaken by the loss of someone so safe and familiar. For months, her empty classroom served as a painful reminder of what had been lost. The city's sorrow was mixed with fear. If someone like Jane could be taken from them, was anyone really safe? The need for justice grew stronger as weeks passed with no answers in sight. Investigators worked tirelessly in the days after Jane's murder. They interviewed friends, colleagues, and neighbors. Leads were chased down, but each seemed to end in disappointment. There were no witnesses who saw an intruder. No one in the quiet street heard anything unusual that night. Physical evidence was scarce. The shattered glass and signs of struggle told a story, but not a clear one. Fingerprints lifted from the crime scene did not match anyone in local databases. The weapon, a heavy glass vase, carried no useful prints. Detectives suspected the killer might have been someone Jane knew and trusted. As the months turned to years, fresh tips dried up. The city moved forward, but Jane's case lingered in the background. Her family and friends kept hope alive, but the police files gathered dust. The murder of Jane Harrison became Millfield's most haunting cold case. With no new leads, the case was shelved. Yet, in the hearts of those who loved Jane, the need for answers never faded. 25 years passed. The world changed, and so did Millfield. New families moved in, children grew up. But for Jane Harrison's family and those who remembered her, the pain of her unsolved murder never fully healed. Every anniversary brought new waves of sadness and frustration. Technologies advanced. DNA testing became more sophisticated, databases expanded, and new investigative techniques emerged. Across the country, cold cases were being solved, sometimes decades after the crimes had occurred. It gave Jane's family a small measure of hope. Millfield's police department also evolved. In 2020, a new initiative funded the reopening of unsolved cases. Jane Harrison's file was among the first to be reviewed. The case was assigned to Detective Rebecca Palmer, a newcomer known for her tenacity and sharp mind. With fresh eyes and new tools, the stage was set. After all these years, maybe, just maybe, the answers would finally come. Detective Rebecca Palmer approached the Harrison case with care and determination. She read through every page of the old files, studied every photograph, and rewatched every witness interview. Palmer noticed details others had missed, small inconsistencies and overlooked connections that piqued her curiosity. Early on, she decided to re-examine all physical evidence. Advances in forensic science gave her hope that something new could be uncovered. She ordered the glass fragments, fibers, and clothing to be retested with the latest technology. Palmer also began reaching out to Jane's surviving friends and relatives, hoping that someone might recall a forgotten detail. Palmer's method was patient and thorough. She mapped out Jane's last days, retracing her steps and reconstructing her final hours. The detective sensed that the answer lay not in dramatic revelations, but in the quiet corners of Jane's life. She paid close attention to those who had been closest to Jane in her final weeks. The city watched with cautious hope. For the first time in years, there was movement in the case. Palmer's commitment inspired Jane's family and reignited public interest in the search for truth. The breakthrough came in the forensics lab. Advanced DNA testing revealed a partial profile from skin cells found beneath Jane's fingernails. The latest fingerprint analysis, using digital enhancement, found a distinct pattern on one shard of broken glass, a print missed in 1995. Both pieces of evidence were run through national databases, searching for a match. Meanwhile, Palmer pored over the autopsy report. A small bruise on Jane's wrist, previously dismissed as accidental, now looked suspicious. She discussed the findings with modern forensic pathologists, who suggested it was a grip mark, likely left by someone who knew Jane well enough to get close. Palmer also requested access to old security camera footage from a nearby intersection. Technology allowed her to enhance grainy images from the night of the murder. She spotted a familiar car, parked just out of sight of Jane's house, lingering on the street at a suspicious hour. Each clue built upon the last. The investigation was moving forward, and the truth was beginning to take shape from the shadows of the past. Detective Palmer focused on Jane's circle of friends and colleagues. The new evidence pointed away from random strangers. Instead, it suggested the killer had been someone close, someone Jane trusted enough to let into her home late at night. Palmer re-interviewed Jane's best friend, Linda Masters, and her colleague, Mark Doyle, who had both been at the memorial all those years ago. As Palmer questioned Mark, inconsistencies in his story emerged. Mark remembered details others had forgotten, but his timeline contained gaps. When confronted with the evidence, a fingerprint match and DNA found at the scene, Mark's composure slipped. He denied any involvement, but the evidence grew stronger. Palmer obtained Mark's phone records from 1995. They showed late-night calls to Jane's house, calls he had never mentioned. Security footage placed his car near the scene, contradicting his original alibi. The case, after years of dead ends, was finally closing in on the person responsible. The city buzzed with rumors as news of the renewed investigation spread. The idea that Jane's killer might have been a trusted friend was almost too much to bear. Mark Doyle was brought in for further questioning. The weight of evidence was overwhelming. Detective Palmer laid out each piece, from the fingerprint on the glass to the DNA under Jane's nails. Mark's face showed a range of emotions: shock, anger, and finally, defeat. In a quiet voice he confessed. He told of a bitter argument, long-held resentment, and a moment of uncontrollable rage. Jane had been his friend, but jealousy and personal struggles twisted his feelings. He broke down in tears, admitting he never meant for things to go so far. The truth, after all these years, was devastating. Jane's family was notified immediately. They wept, both for the loss and for the betrayal by someone so close. The city grieved anew. Friends and neighbors struggled to process that the man who had mourned alongside them was the one responsible for Jane's death. Yet, there was relief too. The silence of 25 years was finally broken. The truth was out, and justice could begin. Mark Doyle stood trial, and the evidence was clear. He was convicted of Jane Harrison's murder, finally bringing an end to a case that had haunted Millfield for a generation. For Jane's family, the verdict brought bittersweet closure. They would never get Jane back, but they could finally lay her memory to rest, knowing the truth. The community gathered one last time to honor Jane. At the new playground built in her name, a plaque was unveiled, in memory of Jane Harrison, beloved teacher, forever missed. The city learned a hard lesson about trust and the darkness that can hide behind familiar faces. But they also saw the power of perseverance and the possibility of justice, even after decades. Detective Palmer became a hero in Millfield. Her careful work and dedication restored faith in the search for truth. The case became a symbol, not just of tragedy, but of hope for families still waiting for answers. The Jane Harrison case reminds us, truth can be buried by time, but with patience and courage, it can still emerge. Justice, even when delayed, can heal and bring peace to those who need it most.